Amazing. Hello everybody. It's really exciting to have you join us on the call. Some of you have been hearing about Cloud Booster for a long time, and this is probably the first time you're actually signing up for something. So whether you've joined some of our webinars before, or you've just been following from afar, or someone told you about us, however it is that you've come here today, like we are very excited to have you, and we know that there's something that unites us, right? Curiosity. Whether, like Ife was saying, if you want to transition into tech or you just want to know what this is about, that's what we're doing really today. Just look at it like a sneak peek. Just you're trying to, when you want to, maybe you're trying to look into somewhere and you can't see the full picture, you just kind of peep into it and you're like, okay. And if what you see, you like it, you then make a decision, okay, let me open the door and actually go somewhere. So the same thing, we use the word taste as well. Today is like a taste of cloud. You taste something and then you see that it's good and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So we want you to have that experience today. So I just want to welcome you, and I want you to know that we're excited to have you. Now, I need to make some things very clear. Everyone on the call, the assumption is that you don't know anything about cloud computing at all. So we don't want you to be intimidated. Today is going to be a day where you have lectures, you're going to have lab sessions where you actually build solutions on the cloud. So just give us time and be patient. We have from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Someone is asking in the chat box, can you explain what cloud computing is? That's what we're here to do today. Don't worry. Shola has that covered. He's going to do a lecture for you guys. If I will introduce him shortly, Shola works in AWS. When you have somebody that is actually working in the company that, produces all the services that you want to learn today, there's no better way to learn about cloud computing. And of course, at some point, he didn't have a tech background as well. We went to uni together, so I know that he didn't study anything tech related, so you're going to be learning from one of the finest in the industry today. So I need you to just be patient. I need you to be in the headspace that you can actually do it. Now, in the course of the lecture, we don't expect that you understand everything 100% in one lecture, but pay attention and try to understand the concepts that is being taught. Also, after you finish your lecture, we're going to put you into breakout rooms, right, where you actually build solutions on the cloud. Please just listen to all the instructions that we give you per time and follow them. What we noticed about some people, sometimes people will be like, oh, we don't know, it's not working and all of that. And it's simply because you missed out on a detail. So if you're thinking, okay, what do I need to bring on board today? We need you to bring your agility, your positive mindset that, you know what, I can actually learn this. Secondly, we need you to pay attention to detail. Don't be too in a hurry and you try something, it's not working, and the next thing is, oh yeah, somebody come and help me. We have people on ground who are going to help you, and that's what we do at Cloud Booster, right? We have people who are actually going to help you. They're going to support you on your learning journey, right? And that's exactly how it is when you enroll for our program. So today is a simulation of what the future could look like if you choose to transition into tech, especially when you want to do it with Cloud Booster. The support is one of the things that people struggle with when you try to learn on your own. And that's what we give you loads of at Cloud Booster. We believe in you. We believe in you. Okay, someone not hearing me. Okay, yeah, please. If you can't hear me, let me know. But yeah, so we believe in you. We know you can do this. And I need you to be in that positive mindset. You will face challenges today. Some things may not work. So let it not be a surprise to you. But the key thing is try it again, try it the second time, try it the third time, and then ask for help. So it's not like you try something once, it doesn't work, and then and then you just start asking for help. We need you to know that you can do this. You have what it takes. I don't believe that there's anybody that cannot do anything. I mean, there's a quote that says that whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. So today, I want you to know and be certain that you can learn cloud computing. And that's the mindset I want you to. So don't say immediately after 30 minutes, you don't understand what, and then you leave the call. No, don't leave. I actually have a special gift for you at the end. And then also, we're going to quiz you today on everything that you have learned. And the first three positions, you're going to be given lovely discount into our training program. So it's not something you want to miss out of. So don't be that person that will just jump off the call and say, you know what, I'm not doing this thing again. Just be patient. It takes time to learn something new, right? So we don't expect you to do 100%, but do your best today. And I also know that there will be people on this call who already have a tech background. Don't let them intimidate you. Let me tell you, about the side of newbies. It's good that you have some tech background already, but please don't intimidate people today, So, and you too, don't be intimidated. Don't be that person like, this one has already done it though, because in every class, we know, even when we say it's for newbies, we know that some people will join with experience, right? So please, let's just respect one another and balance it. We actually want to hear from people who have experience as well. There's nothing wrong with sharing, but we also don't want people who are newbies to actually be intimidated. So whatever category you are, just be patient with us, enjoy the journey. There's always something new to learn, and be rest assured that you are with the best of hands. Our instructor is one of the finest in the industry. You would see him when he begins to teach you today, and go and check his LinkedIn profile. You see so many things. Our facilitators, they are amazing. They're going to be with you in the breakout room, and they're going to be the ones helping you troubleshoot if you fall into any issues. So that's what today is all about. I just want to make sure that I don't have, so basically, I think those are the key things I really wanted to share with you today. So stay till the end. I'm going to be back I'm going to be here all through, and then I'm going to speak to you again at the end of the program with the prizes for the first 3 people who win the quiz. And for everyone, there's actually a special package, a special thing for everybody as well, because you joined the bootcamp. So you're really not going to go home empty-handed today, regardless of I just need you to stay till the end. That's the important thing, and pay attention and know that you can do this. Okay, so that's all from me. Ife, please go ahead and introduce our instructor, and let's get started.
Wow, thank you so much, Baby. So you heard it from Baby already. Please stick to the end with us. Stick to the end with us. We have something exciting to share with you towards the end. And so right now, without further ado, I'm going to be making an introduction of our instructor this morning. And before then, I will just be sharing my screen. As Baby has already mentioned, this is one of the finest people in the industry. So you want to really, really pay attention. You want to pay attention to what he has to, teach us today in class. All right. So Olushola is a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services, like Bemi mentioned, AWS, working with small and medium businesses, SMBs, to leverage the full potential of the cloud. As a dedicated and customer-focused professional, his primary goal is to provide technical guidance and support to help SMBs successfully build and optimize their workloads on AWS rather. With a strong foundation in AWS services and a deep understanding of the AWS well-architected framework, he collaborates closely with SMB clients to develop scalable, reliable, secure, and cost-effective solutions tailored to their specific needs, whether it's designing cloud architectures, optimizing performance, or enhancing security measures. He ensures that each customer journey aligns seamlessly with industry best practices and AWS cutting-edge technologies. Okay. As a generalist solutions architect, Olushola possesses a holistic understanding of the AWS services portfolio and keep up to date with the latest cloud trends and advancements. He leverages his knowledge to craft comprehensive strategies that drives innovation, accelerate business growth, and deliver maximum value to SMB customers. So, ladies and gentlemen, right about now, I have the privilege to welcome on board Olushola Oladipupo. Welcome, welcome. We are so amazed. We are so glad to have you on the call with us this morning, and we can't wait for you to share with us. Over to you, Olushola.
Thank you so much, Ife. Thank you, Bemi. Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me well?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Let me share my screen. Okay, great. I think you should be able to see my screen now as well.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Great. Let me try to put the chat somewhere so I can see that as well. Okay, great. I think I'm good now. All right, amazing. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from, wherever you might be joining from. My name is Olushola Oladipupo, and I'm a solutions architect with AWS. And I've been with AWS for about 2 years, 8 months now, working with small and medium business, like Ife mentioned. And I really want to welcome all of you to this one-day bootcamp And it's going to be an amazing day, like Bemi mentioned. And I know that you might have signed up for this bootcamp, maybe feeling a little nervous, or maybe you're thinking, oh, cloud computing, isn't that like super technical? Do I even know what cloud is all about? Or am I ready for this? But let me tell you right now that yes, you are absolutely ready. And I didn't have a cloud background myself or a tech background. I studied economics in uni. So if I can do it, you can as well. We've had people that studied English language that are currently working in tech that went through Cloud Booster. And I want to assure you that today is not about confusing jargon or overwhelming tech talk, right? It's all about seeing how simple, how powerful, and life-changing cloud computing can be, and how you, no matter what your background is, can absolutely learn it. So by the end of today, I want to assure you that you are not just going to understand what the cloud is, but you are going to realize that starting a cloud career is actually way closer or easier or simpler than you can imagine, with the help of Cloud Booster. And yeah, and if you feel very, excited with what you learned today, then definitely, wait to the end for, the announcements we're going to be giving about the next cohort of learning. So I really want you to stay open-minded. I want everyone to stay very much curious. And yeah, let's jump right into the lectures of today. And as you can see on the screen, on this first part in the next 30 minutes, we are going to be covering introduction to cloud computing. So if anyone is ready, if you're pumped up as I am, maybe my voice is not showing it yet, but I want you to tap ready in the chat if you're excited to learn about cloud. I want to see how many people are actually energized and pumped up. Yes, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Bemi. Oh, she even put multiple Y's. Ready, ready, ready. Okay, okay. Awesome. Let's feel the energy. Just type ready in the chat if you're ready to learn all about cloud computing. Amazing, amazing. I'm loving the energy from you guys. Nice, nice. Okay, cool. So let's get started. So what we're going to cover, this is just a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. So we'll answer what exactly is cloud computing, and we'll talk about why is this such a big deal? Why is everyone talking about it? Cloud, cloud, cloud. And then we'll look at AWS because that is the platform that Cloud Booster uses as a cloud provider. We'll learn one or two things about AWS. And then we touch on some basic cloud infrastructure concept as well. That might sound technical now, but don't worry. This will make total sense very shortly. And the goal really for me is to keep it light, keep it simple and practical for you guys to understand. And please, if you have any questions in the course of this session, please drop it in the chat or drop it in the Q&A, and I'm sure one of the hosts will take that up. And then afterwards, we have a section for Q&A. Great. So what is cloud computing? I'm sure so many people are waiting for this already. Right. So cloud computing basically is a technology that allows users or people to be able to access computing resources like servers, storage, database over the internet on a pay-per-use basis without the need for physical hardware. So what that means basically is that imagine like companies, traditionally, and I will talk about this as well very soon. They have to have a room full of servers where they have data centers, they have to provision the hardware and all of that. And or imagine if every time you want to maybe watch a Netflix movie, you have to go and buy an entire server that it was stored on, and then just watch one movie and then return it when you're done. So cloud computing solves just exactly that. It basically lets you rent, in quotes, computing power like storage, database from a cloud provider over the internet. So that means that you need an internet connection to be able to use any of this service, one. And also in terms of pricing, you use what you need and you pay only for what you use. So you don't have to worry about how will I maintain it? How will it come up? Will it be there when I need it? So you only use what you need, and it will definitely be there, and then you pay for what you use. And I like using this analogy, especially for people that live maybe in the UK, for example, of electricity usage at home. So most people have what we call a smart meter, right? And when you need electricity, what you just need to do is to switch on the socket, and then when you are done with it, you switch it off. And that means that you only pay for the electricity that you consumed. So you don't have to pay when you are not using lights. And that's why most people, they make sure they turn off almost all the lights in the room when they are not using it, or appliances. So that's exactly how cloud works. So when you need IT resources like servers, like networking, like database or analytics, you provision them, which means you switch them on. And then when you're done with them, you deprovision them. And so this model is quite different from, what we have in the traditional IT data center, where you need to go through like a very lengthy process of preparing bill of material for your IT infrastructure. You have to go through the painful process of procurement, and then make a big upfront capital investment to buy hardware or to buy a room. So cloud computing makes all of this simple. And here's the fun part, right? You are already using cloud every day, all of us. So you can see some of the examples I have here on screen. Netflix is built on AWS. All the movies that you are watching and everything that you are consuming on Netflix, it is stored on AWS. All of us use Gmail, right? That's the power of cloud. We use Spotify, we use Google Drive, even Instagram, right? So all of these platforms are using cloud computing to power them. All of them have a server, all of them have a storage, all of them have database that is working beneath. So, and then your iCloud as well. So that's like a cloud storage where you can just store things, and then it's there whenever you need it. For example, if I travel to another country now, I don't have to worry about Netflix. I just have to log in via the internet, which is what I mentioned. And then my profile comes to me. I have all the movies. I leave from there. I went to another country. I still have the same thing as well. Someone is asking, please, what is AWS? Is on the next slide, so I'm going to answer that very shortly. So that's what cloud computing is all about. It's not like the physical cloud that we can see. It's just a technology where you can access all these different resources via the internet, and you pay per use. So what is AWS, right? So in the cloud computing space, there are a few major players. In fact, these three are like the biggest major players. Just like, we have different brands or models of cars, right? So the biggest major cloud providers globally are number one, AWS, which is Amazon Web Service, and which, that's my employer. AWS is just a cloud computing or IT side of Amazon as a retail company that we all know, right? And then we have Microsoft Azure. All of us know Microsoft. We use PowerPoint, Outlook, and different Microsoft products. And then we have Google Cloud Platform. Again, Google Cloud, all of us know them, Gmail, YouTube. So these are the major cloud providers. These are the major guys that has all the resources to provide cloud computing to different companies around the world. We have other ones like Alibaba Cloud, for example, like Oracle as well. But these are the major three that you need to know. And actually, within the confines of this bootcamp and cloud booster program, we are going to be focused on AWS because AWS is the largest, they have the largest market share, and they are the mostly widely adopted cloud platform, and is a very great place for you to start your cloud journey. Great. So have you heard of AWS, Azure, or GCP? Can I have a yes or no in the chat? Has anyone heard of, AWS, Azure, or GCP? Yes or no? Or this is the only, okay, some people said yes. Okay, great. So these are the major three players. Okay, Caroline said no. So now these are the three major players in the world of cloud computing. So now let's go back a bit. So I was live before cloud. So before cloud, I already hinted a bit on this. Businesses have to build and manage their own servers. And I don't know if you've gone to a company before and you see a room, or maybe you watched a movie or you saw something online and you see a room like full of computers and servers, like this guy, on the screen right now. So they have to have a warehouse full of computers just to be able to run a website. And that means that the hardwares are very expensive. They have to secure that room. They have to constantly maintain that particular room. So they have to use like what we call a physical self-managed data center. This is what we call a data center. And this is very expensive, as you would imagine. And I think one major thing is even that sometimes they don't even know how much resources they need. They just have to figure out, okay, let's just buy this number of servers. If we need it, we'll use it. If we don't use it, then, maybe it will just go to waste. So that was how life was before cloud. And for example, imagine today Netflix has, over 220 million subscribers, and they don't have to worry about managing all this infrastructure or managing the servers. And that's what cloud computing comes to bring, right? And it's just this example is just highlighting the necessity of cloud as a whole to be able to manage large scale operations. Because at the core front of cloud computing, you would even see that you don't even need to provision the amount of resources that you need. There's what we call auto scaling. So it can even scale automatically for you. You just provision maybe a little that you need. And if traffic comes a lot, like let's say maybe on a Black Friday or Amazon Prime Day, the system is just going to scale by itself. So it's different from maybe we having a physical data center where you have to say, okay, we have something coming up and we are expecting a bit of traffic. Please, let's buy more physical computers. So cloud computing is able to help companies like Netflix to be able to scale at this amount of subscribers that they have in terms of traffic daily. So let's look at, what are some of the advantages of cloud computing. But before I go into this, I want to ask a question in the chat. So based on what I just explained um, in the last few minutes, and if you could magically remove all the headaches of physical computers and hardware, and you have all these resources over the internet, and you only pay for what you use, what's the first thing that comes to your mind in terms of this is what I want to build or launch online? Does anyone have any dream project or anything like, okay, if I just have access to what I need and I'm only paying little money, this is what I'm going to build. Maybe I'm going to build a podcast or an app that does something. Does anyone have any idea in the chats that if cloud is this simple, if I have access to what I need anytime, I'm probably going to build an online store or I'm going to build an app. Anyone in the chats? Website. Okay, website doing what, Caroline? A web hosting service provider. Okay, nice, nice. Radio station, love it. Online store. Okay. Amazing. And to be honest, all these things are very simple to build with the advent of cloud, as you would see in some of the lectures as well. So let's go quickly into what are the advantages of cloud computing, really? Why should companies care? I'm sure you must have, picked up one or two things in terms of advantage. Now, why companies love the cloud? The first thing is the massive savings. And this is how we love to call it, right? You are trading capital expense for variable expense. What that means is that there is no huge capital upfront expense that you need to manage when you are starting on the cloud. Basically, what you need is open the website, go on AWS website, click to say, I want this database, I want, this S3 bucket, and there it is. In a few minutes, you have it, and you're only paid for what you use. When you are not using it, you are not paying anything. How cool is that? So you don't need an huge upfront investment in terms of cloud. And that's one major cost savings benefit of cloud. And then the next thing is massive economies of scale, which means that when you have like a lot when you have a lot of resources that you are provisioning, it's even more cheaper because you are leveraging economies of scale, being that you are, having to provision a lot of servers, and then you have different savings plans that AWS gives you because, okay, you are committing to using this amount of servers in a particular time. And then also, there's no need to guess. So imagine a physical data center. We want to build a website. We are not sure how many people will come on our website. We have to think, okay, so how many computers do we buy now? But in the advent of cloud, there's no need to guess capacity. You only use and pay for what you need. And like I mentioned or hinted about, and maybe some of you should look that up online, there's what we call auto scaling. Auto scaling, which means that if I have 10 people visiting my website today, all well and good. Tomorrow, if I have 10,000, the system or resources is going to auto scale by itself, and it's going to be able to give me the resources so that even if 10,000 people come on my online store, like Eniola, said, wanted to build an online store, they will not have an error, and the system will still be able to accommodate them. And the next thing is it increases speed and agility. So before the advent of cloud, when a company wants to launch, it takes a few weeks or months or years because of the amount of hardware, the procurement process that they need to go to. But now with cloud, companies can leverage what we call agility, which means they can move faster, they can experiment, they can grow without fear. And you are going to see this in the lab that we are going to have today as well, where you are going to be provisioning, you create your AWS account, provision your S3 buckets in a matter of few minutes. Imagine few minutes and you have like a storage, you have a database, you have what you need. So companies are able to move faster and experiment fast. And even if they are trying to experiment something, if it's not working, they can close it down. They can just deprovision that service and open another one, right? And the last is you can go global in minutes, which means that you can think of an idea now, like someone said, Ezekiel said he wants to build like a web hosting service provider. And on this call, we all come with our ideas, and basically within a matter of minutes, we can go on the AWS console, build it, and then we start serving it to different people. So it's basically the cloud levels the playing field, because now small businesses or even individuals like yourself can have the same firepower as giant corporations would have, because we all have the advantage of cloud computing. And then the next thing, there's also things like efficiency and cost reduction, then the software updates. And the software updates means that you always have the latest feature, because you don't have to go to the physical data center to update your hardware. AWS is going to do that on your behalf, update all the softwares and features that you need. And then you have scalability. Now, scalability is one important advantage in the cloud that you should definitely know about. Scalability. Now, that's scalability means that it can easily undo sudden spikes or traffic. So imagine if we have like a lot of traffics or spikes, the cloud is able to undo that. You don't have to over provision or under provision. That's the word. You don't have to over provision or under provision the resource that you need. You can provision the right amount, and even if a lot of traffic comes, it can automatically scale. And companies are looking for people like you that can help them build a system that can automatically undo the amount of traffic or the amount of people or users that they are expecting on their website. And then you have things like unlimited storage capacity. You can have unlimited storage capacity in the cloud, and also disaster recovery. Disaster recovery means if something goes wrong on your system, you can recover quickly without losing your data, or it can fail over to another region, which I will explain very quickly, or another availability zone, which is just like a data center. Now, why should you learn cloud computing, or why should you really care about cloud computing? Now, this is one of the reasons the cloud market is currently exploding. And you would see here from like $97 billion in 2019, it's projected to reach about 947 billion. That's almost like 10 times by 2026. That's just not a lot of money, but it's a lot of opportunities. So companies everywhere, they need people. They are looking for people who understand cloud. And that's part of why we're having this bootcamp, right? For you to have a first step into a career and see how, you know, cloud computing is. So there's a huge opportunity in the cloud market. And I would say one thing, right, too, before I move on from this slide. And even the whole thing that is happening about AI and generative AI is even making cloud needed because companies need to build AI on top of infrastructure. Some of you have probably heard of a company called NVIDIA, GPUs, and all of that. All those things need cloud as a basis or as an infrastructure to build them. So if there is a right time to learn cloud computing, is now, because a lot of companies they don't want to be they don't want to fall behind in terms of AI or implementing generative AI into their products, and they need cloud infrastructure to be able to do just that. And also, this is a report from Gartner that says that cloud computing is becoming the standard, right? And about 95% of all new workloads or new projects are going to be on cloud native platforms by the end of this year. Things like websites, apps, services, they will be cloud native. Companies are moving from traditional IT data center. They are seeing the advantages in the cloud. And they know that cloud is going to be as fundamental as you just using a computer. So learning now what the cloud means and how it works would help you to be able to get ahead of the curve. Okay, so now let's look at AWS global infrastructure. And by global, yes, AWS is global. And if you remember a few slides ago, I told you about 3 different cloud providers majorly. And for the purpose of this bootcamp and also Cloud Booster platform, we are going to just speak about AWS. Now, AWS has an infrastructure that is global, and one of the main components of that that you need to know about is called an AWS region. So very simply, a region or an AWS region is simply a large geographic area where AWS has built its cloud facilities. So let me explain this in the simplest way possible. So even though companies do not have to build data centers and all those hardwares that we talked about, all these cloud providers, actually what they've done is they built a data center by themselves. What do I mean by that? So an AWS region is a geographic location and area in a country where AWS actually built its cloud facilities. So for example, AWS has a region in London, in Highland, in Cape Town, in North Virginia in the US, which means that in that region or in that country, they have different availability zones or data centers, which I will explain. So they've built the data centers in this region, which means that all the servers, all the things, and it's a big expanse of land, right? All the servers, everything that each company is supposed to have, they have gone ahead to build it. And then they are now selling those services or those resources to different companies for them to be able to access via the internet. So even though, we mentioned that we are getting rid of the traditional IT infrastructure, but what these companies, AWS, Microsoft, Google, what they've actually done in reality is that there is a physical data center somewhere that is owned by AWS. And within that, we have like what we call an AWS region. And then we have, at the moment, AWS currently has about 36 regions globally. And on that region, we have what we call availability zone. So let me use London, for example. London is a region. When you want to deploy an AWS resource, you are going to have to choose which region do I want to put these resources. And then under this region, we have availability zones. Availability zone is basically just a data center. So we have London region. Within London, AWS has 2 or more availability zones, which means they have 2 or more physical data centers within London, if I'm using London as an example. So all the resources, everything that is being deployed or that a company is being used is actually within the confines of these different data centers. So if we have 36 regions, it means that we are going to have so many more availability zones or data centers because you have at least 2 availability zones or data centers under each region. Now that we understand that availability zones is the same as data centers, I'm not going to use data center anymore. So I'm just going to call them availability zone because it's just the right technical word that is being used for this. So And availability zone, they are there to help, ensure high availability, because if you deploy a resource in two or more availability zone, because if one availability zone goes down, you know that the other is going to come up because your resource is spread across different availability zones. So, one of the advice is to actually deploy your resources or your servers. By resources, I mean servers or database in different availability zone, so that even if one goes down, now there are some very rare case where a whole availability zone or data center will go down. Maybe there's a security issue or there's fire, but it's very, very rarely. So let's put this into perspective now. AWS region is a geographical location. A geographical location like, US East, which is the North Virginia region. I mentioned London region. There's one region in London, there's one region in Ireland, for example. Then within the confines of region, you have at least two or more availability zones. An availability zone basically means data center or a group of data center built together. And AWS currently has 114 availability zones all across the world. So one of the questions you might ask is, okay, so how do I choose the right region, or how do I even know which region to choose? One of the things you need to think of, and this is you putting, no, there's no availability zone in Nigeria, but we have what we call a local zone, which we can explain later in one of the lectures in Lagos, in Nigeria. But back to what I was saying. Now, one of the things you need to think about as maybe a cloud engineer for your company or for a business that you are working for in choosing the right region is you need to pick one that is closest to your users or that has a lower latency or faster speed to where people will be, maybe accessing your website from, for example. And you need to check which services are available, because there are some services that are available in one region that you might probably not find in another region. And then you need to think of, is there any data sovereignty laws? That basically just means that some countries require your data to stay local in their country or in their region. So you need to think about that. And also very important, especially for companies, is that pricing of services, like, by services, I mean all the resources like database, server, storage, their prices varies within different or between different regions. And that can affect the bottom line of a business in where they want to put. So when you're determining which AWS region or where should I put my resources, these are the several factors that you need to help the business you are working for. Or if you are building a website by yourself, these are the different factors that you need to actually think about. And then next, let's talk about edge location, which is the last thing we're going to talk about before we have Q&A, and then we have the next session as well. Now, edge locations, think of them as a mini version of an AWS data center that helps to cache your content closer to users. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you are in Australia and you are trying to access a file from London. The file is saved in London, but you are in Australia. Now, AWS will automatically store a local copy of that file near you, which means they will try to store a local copy of that file near Australia so that the file or the website will load faster than you having to access it all the way from London. So let me use an example. I think Ezekiel said he wanted to launch or build a web hosting service provider. Let's say Ezekiel is hosting that in London, but you traveled to Cape Town and you want to access the same page. So what AWS would do via edge location is to cache the same website content in Cape Town, so that when you want to access that same website, it's going to load faster for you. So they are just there to help to enhance performance and to help cache content. And at the moment, Amazon currently has more than 400 edge locations around the world. And to put everything in perspective, based on what I've explained in terms of AWS global infrastructure, we have 36 regions. Regions are just geographical locations, like countries, for example. And then under region, you have what we call availability zones. Availability zones are the same as physical data centers, and you can have two or more in one region. And at the moment, AWS has 140. They are still building more. And then in terms of edge locations, they just help you to cache your content, or they are used to save your content closer to the end users for the content to load faster or for better performance to your end users. And this is just showing like different edge locations around the world. And think of it as there's an analogy that is coming to mind as well. Think of edge locations like very fast local expressway or shortcuts that you can pass to reduce the distance that your data has to travel all the way. Right. So with this, we're coming to the end of the first part of the lecture today. Before I think we have Q&A now. Am I right? We have Q&A now, and then we'll go to the second session where I'm going to be talking about one of the very popular Amazon service, and then we'll go to the lab from there. How is everyone feeling? What's the energy? Type I'm here in the chat if you're still here. And if I'm not sure how we're going to coordinate the chat. Do we have any question? Sorry, do you have any question in the chat, or are people going to be asking verbally?
Okay,
Okay.
so if you have any question, you can just put it in the chat box for about a minute. So if we don't get any response, we would be going on a 10-minute break. And when we get back, we will come back for the second lecture, which is S3. So any question? Caroline is asking if there will be a replay. Yes, there's going to be a replay, so you can be on the lookout for that. But we encourage you to stay till the end of the class.
So any question from anyone? Okay, someone is asking, can I learn cloud computing as a total beginner in tech? Absolutely, yes, you can. And that's also one of the essence of this bootcamp, to show you how easy, how simple it is for you to learn it, even if you don't even have anything to do with tech. And maybe, I'm not sure when you joined, but I didn't have a tech background myself. I studied economics, and I was able to transition to tech. And there's been so many stories of people within Cloud Booster as well that has done the same. So absolutely, yes, you can learn cloud computing. In fact, today, make sure you stay to the end. You're going to have an AWS account by the end of today, and you are going to have provisioned a resource or a storage in the cloud as an absolute beginner. And we have people that would help you. So yeah, absolutely, yes, you can do that. Okay, what is the roadmap to be a SysOps administration? So, okay, systems operations. SysOps administration, I mean, it depends on which parts of SysOps administration it is, to be honest. But in general, I think maybe you can follow up with one of the coordinators. But I think just on the top of my head is you need to at least have like a general knowledge of like different tech domains that is peculiar to that particular side of things. And by general knowledge, I mean you need to understand like basic tech domains that is in the confines of even Cloud Booster, like networking, like storage, like database, and then you need to move on from there. But I think that's a very specific question that maybe we can take offline. Eric, you can reach out to someone. Someone is asking, will AI take over jobs? I think we've actually had a session on AI and jobs. But what I would say in that is definitely not. AI will not take over jobs, but there would be some maybe administrative jobs that if those people that are doing it are not leveraging AI, then AI is going to people are going to use AI rather than like going to meet people. So what I would say in terms of AI is to learn it, leverage it. And in the course of the class as well, I mentioned learning cloud computing because that's the basic or infrastructure that AI is being built on. So what I would encourage is for you to actually embrace AI and learn it to then be able to help companies implement AI into their structure, into their website. So learning cloud computing, there is no discrimination in terms of age or gender. Anyone can learn. We've had people that, that you might not be feeling, oh, I'm not young anymore and all of that. So absolutely, you can learn cloud computing no matter what your age is. And we have instructors and people in Cloud Booster that can help and support and guide you as well. Someone said, do I need to get the Google IT support course, Ebube? To be honest, I don't know what Google IT support course is. To have a fundamental knowledge. But I mean, with fundamental knowledge, um, is it fundamental knowledge of cloud or fundamental knowledge of IT in general? Ebube, if you can probably clarify. Do I need to do the practitioner before the solutions architect? I feel I'm good enough to go for the solutions architect. Okay. Ebiaka Adefe, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. No, you do not need to do the cloud practitioner before the solutions architect. If you have the experience, you have the knowledge, please go ahead for it. People usually would start from cloud practitioner. And sorry if this is too technical. What's this person is asking? AWS has different certifications, which you still get to know about. The fundamental one is cloud practitioner and then solutions architect. And this person is asking if they need to do the fundamental one or they can just go ahead to do the second one. And I'm just saying that no, you don't need to. If you already have like some basic knowledge and you are good enough, please, yeah, go for the solutions architect exam. How long do I need to train to become a cloud professional? Jay, okay, this question is going to be answered, I believe, at the end because Cloud Booster is going to tell you about their program, or if someone can put in the chat or message Jay about how long the course or the core takes. But I believe it's yeah, I can't remember, maybe 3 to 6 months, but yeah, I'm sure 18 weeks. Okay, thank you, Ife. And then does the scope of the bootcamp? Okay, Junaid. So the bootcamp for today is just a one-day bootcamp to introduce you to the world of cloud computing. But specifically in terms of DevOps, that is what Cloud Booster does. So I would say for you, Junaid, you should definitely ask about how to join the court or wait till the end to get information about joining. Okay. Okay. So I think some of these questions will take all these general questions, we'll take it later. But I would really employ you guys to like how long does it take? What's the scope of the program and all of that? These are different questions that we'll take by the end of the class today or by the end of the session. So I would really employ you, Junaid, Choma, and Jay, please wait to the end of the webinar of the session, and then all these questions are going to be answered. Yeah, Ebube as well. This will be answered as well. No matter what the background that you are from, hospitality, English, economics, anything, you don't have any knowledge, that's fine. That's what Cloud Booster is built for, and there's going to be a lot of information on how you can get started. Ife, are we still on time? I think we can wrap up Q&A now, right, and go for a 10 minutes break.
Yes, yes. So we are going to take all that questions later. Thank you so much, Olushola. Thank you. I'm sure that you've been really, really impacted with the knowledge of cloud computing this morning. So we are going to be taking a 10 minutes break right now. And when we get back, we'll come back for.
Thank you, Ife. Okay, great. So from their break. I hope you were able to maybe grab water, grab tea or coffee. Yeah. So let's get started. I know some people have also dropped questions in the Q&A tab, which we might have probably missed, but would take gather all the questions together. And I can assure you that we'll take it very soon. Okay, great. So let's talk a bit about Amazon S3, and let's zoom in a bit into the real world cloud service that you will use a lot. And one of them is S3, which is like AWS main storage service. And you can think of S3 as a storage drive. So let's say the hard drive on your laptop, but this one is online. It is super reliable and it is limitless. Like it has unlimited storage. Usually hard drive or your laptop, you say, it's 250 gig. Is this gig? This is unlimited storage, it's online, and it's super reliable. So let's learn a bit about Amazon S3. Amazon S3. Great. So the three in Amazon S3 actually stands for simple storage service. Simple storage service. And with Amazon S3, you can store virtually anything. So you can store songs, documents, pictures, videos, anything really, files, CSV, PDFs. So you can store them safely and easily on Amazon S3. And it's secure, very much secure. It's cheap and is used by, one of the biggest companies in the world, and I'll mention like a few examples. So it's like I mentioned, it's a simple storage service, Amazon S3, and it's just like your physical hardware drive on your laptop, for example. And understanding S3 is very important because almost every company in the world uses Amazon S3 because it serves as a storage for them to store so many things on it. Like an example of what I just gave. So it's the same as a folder on your laptop, like I just mentioned, and you can store all types of files. Now let's look at some of the use cases of very big companies using Amazon S3. And just to tease you a bit, Amazon S3 is what we are going to be creating in the lab that is coming. So I would implore you to stay behind for the lab that we're going to do after this class, because you're going to create an AWS account and actually create an Amazon S3 bucket. Right, so the first one is Pinterest. How many of you know about this company called Pinterest? Let's see the chat. How many people know or uses Pinterest? Pinterest, anyone? Okay, Kingsley is raising his hand. Okay, good. Yes, okay. So Pinterest, if you use Pinterest for anything whatsoever, so Pinterest uses Amazon S3 to actually store and serve billions of images. So all the images that you are seeing on Pinterest, every time you save a pin, I'm sure people that uses Pinterest know what that means by a pin. Every time you save a pin, it is sitting comfortably in an S3 bucket somewhere. So S3 helps Pinterest to store and deliver images at scale, and then by using S3, Pinterest can help them to efficiently store and serve billions of images, like I mentioned. And S3 is secured, it can automatically scale, it has unlimited storage. So that's one use case of a company that we all use. And like I mentioned here as well, Amazon S3 also integrates with different AWS services. Don't worry about these names, but those are just like this is just for you to know that S3 can connect to different AWS services for you to use. For example, I can't remember his name now. Ezekiel that said someone said he wanted to create an online store. So for my online store, let's say I want to sell shoes and bags. I'm going to need pictures of those shoes and bags, right? So I can save them in an S3 bucket and then connect my server or my website to that S3 so that when you log into my website or my online store, those pictures and those images that you are going to be seeing, I have saved them on Amazon S3. So it's like a storage where you can use it to serve images, most especially to different users that are coming on your platform, like Pinterest, for example. Let's look at another use case. How many music lovers do I have here today? Spotify. So for music lovers, for people that love using Spotify, Spotify also uses Amazon S3 to store and stream millions of songs every day. And Amazon S3 helps them to do this quickly and reliably. And you can imagine how many people actually uses Spotify. So Amazon S3 is one of the service that can help to sorry, I forgot to start my timer. Amazon S3 is one of the services that can help to, automatically scale to these vast amounts of users and handle vast amounts of data. And you can see that also Spotify is one application that is very high demand. If you understand what I mean, like so many people use it. You don't want to click on Spotify and click on a song and you're just waiting. You're saying, sorry, please wait. I'm trying to look for the S3 buckets to play your song from. No, you just want to click on it and it's playing already. So Amazon S3 is a very reliable service on AWS for storage. So let's go a deep further into understanding what is called S3 buckets and objects. Don't worry, when you create your AWS account, you're going to see all these buckets and objects. But I just want to explain this before we actually go to the lab to create them. Now, you'd notice that I'm mentioning like some words like availability zone, like buckets, like things, scalability. Now, those are words that you hear a lot and don't allow them to confuse you. Those are just words that are used in the confines of the cloud. So when you say S3 bucket, someone knows that, okay, you are trying to create a folder on your laptop. But in the confines of cloud computing or AWS, it is just called a bucket, right? So S3 buckets are like folders, basically, where you put your files. And the files that you put in the folder or in the bucket are called objects. So again, S3 buckets are just folders where you put your files, and those files, you call them objects. And it's easy for you to set up, and manage, even if you are not technical at all. So it is just a container or a directory where your objects are accessed and where you store all your objects, which are files. So how do you create an S3 bucket? You can create them using the AWS Management Console. And let's say about 30 minutes thereabout from now, you are going to log in into the AWS Management Console. So you'll see exactly what I mean by that. So you can create them, just click a button, click create bucket, give it a name, and your bucket is up and running. And you can begin to save different objects. Or if you have knowledge of programming, you can use the command line interface and maybe write something like AWS creates S3 buckets, give it a name, and with one line of prompts, it just creates it for you, other than you logging into the management console. But for the purpose of this bootcamp, we are not going to do any programming or any coding or something that is related to that. We're just going to log into the console and actually create the buckets visually. And then, like I mentioned before, S3 buckets, you can integrate them into different AWS services to help store your data or process your data or help serve your website on your online store to people that are accessing it. Now, when you're creating an S3 bucket, this is very important. There are rules for choosing a name for S3 buckets, and these are the different rules. And I mean, you don't have to remember all these rules, just to mention, because if you type a name that doesn't fit with the rule, the console is going to tell you, sorry, you know how you're creating a password on a website and it has some set of rules and you put something and it said, oh, no, you have not added the symbol. So don't worry about it. The console is going to tell you, oh, sorry, you are using capital letter or but these are just the different things you should have in mind when you are creating an S3 bucket. don't use an IP, for example, maybe 10.0 and all of that. It's not going to allow it. So it must start with lowercase or number. Maybe from now, you should already be thinking about, okay, what would the name of my S3 bucket be when I create it in the next few minutes? And also, one thing to also realize is that S3 bucket name needs to be globally unique. So there can't be like the same name for a bucket within the same confines of an AWS account or region. So you could, I mean, all of us have different names. So you could probably use your name underscore, pair it with some numbers, and that should be fine. But these are just some things to keep in mind when you are creating an S3 bucket. Again, you don't have to remember this. When you log in, if you write something that doesn't match, it will just highlight it in red to say, oh, you need to change this. Now, that's buckets. Now, let's talk about objects. Objects, like I mentioned, is just a file. So an object is your file that you are storing in the S3 bucket. And an S3 object consists of these different things. And what you need to know on this slide is your object includes your file and some information about it, like a label that helps AWS to know what your file is and how to find it. You know how you're saving a file on a computer and you can right click and see the properties. You can see the size, you can see the dates and some metadata information about it. That's exactly what this is. So the budget is your file, and then it has a key, which is the name that you have assigned, the name of the object or the file, the value, the contents of the file, the version ID, if there's anything like versioning, which I'll speak about in a moment. And then metadata is just like the information around your object, which can be the size, the dates that it was stored. Now, what is S3 versioning? S3 versioning. Now, versioning helps to protect your files. So every time you upload, if you enable S3 versioning, it helps to keep multiple versions of objects in the same S3 buckets. So imagine if I want to change my file, I've saved a file, but I want to make changes to it. So every time I upload a change, Amazon S3 will help me save a new version of that file instead of replacing the old one. And what does that tell you? It means that if I accidentally delete that file, I can always roll it back to the original one because the original one was never deleted. So this is a major lifesaver for business. So it just helps to provide like additional layer for you not to overwrite an existing object. And I'm sure some of you see this, like if you have stored a file on a laptop folder and you are storing the same name, can I have like a yes in the chat? Does anyone see that it will ask you like, oh, do you want to replace the old file or do you want to overwrite it or do you want to create a new one? Has anyone seen something like that before? Yes? Or am I the only one that sees it? Okay, awesome. Okay, good. So that's exactly the same way like versioning works. It just helps you to keep multiple versions of your object in the same S3 bucket. So this is an example of S3 versioning helping to prevent accidental delete. So imagine if I have a file called, yes, if you want the old file deleted, yes, you can do that. It will only prompt you multiple times to say, sometimes it even tells you to write delete to be able to be sure that you want to delete it. Yeah, you can do that, but it will just like prompt you multiple times to say, are you sure you want to delete? You can even delete the old S3 buckets if you want the folder. But it will just prompt you a lot of times and might ask you to write confirm or delete to be able to confirm that you want to do that. So for example, let's say I have a file called info.txt, and what is inside it is I am a girl. Then I update it into I am a girl living in London. And then I update it into I am a girl living in London with my dog. But if I delete the file, I'm simply pasting what we call a delete marker on the file, which can be removed anytime. So versioning really, really helps to prevent accidental deletions. So by helping you to place like a delete marker on that files, and basically what it is doing is just helping to protect the integrity of your data or to ensure that all the important information that you are storing on your Amazon S3 buckets, you can easily recover them. Great, so let's go to S3 storage classes. Now, Amazon S3 has something that we call storage classes that has been designed to meet performance, durability, availability, and cost requirements. And you can choose storage classes based on different criteria. Now, what this means basically is that Amazon storage classes, let's put it this way, that you have different models of cars. You know how I don't really know about cars so much, but you know how, let's say for Mercedes-Benz, you have GLC, you have GLE, or let's say different years of cars. And as you go along the line, along different models, you have performance increase, yeah. You have, for example, the tech inside the car. And of course, as you also go above, the price begins to increase, right? So Amazon S3 storage class is something like that. We have different storage classes that if you choose this storage class, it might be that, okay, I want to be able to access my file anytime, any day. And I choose this storage class based on that use case. If you choose that, you have to be happy to pay the price for that storage class. Or you say, okay, you know what? This file I'm saving, I won't need it again in the next 3 months. I will rarely access this. I rarely need it. I just want a storage class that gives me that flexibility in that, okay, I might not really, if I'm accessing, let's say 2 or 3 times a year, then you choose a particular storage class that gives that flexibility. And then you pay minimum. Why? Because what you need to know in terms of S3 is that you are paying when you are accessing a bucket or when you are getting an object or accessing an object. So if you're telling AWS that, I'm not going to be accessing this file so much, I just want a storage class where I only access it like 2 or 3 times a year, then you save your objects or your files in that storage, and which means you are paying less because you are not going to be accessing it very frequently. So that is how to understand S3 storage class. They are just there to provide the lowest cost storage for different access patterns. That is the keyword, different access patterns, because you are paying to access. And what does that mean? This is like the graph for that. So these are different S3 storage classes. And you see that from the left, I hope it's also left for you guys, but from my left, I have frequent, where I have S3 standard. And this is for a use case where the company wants to be accessing them faster every time, like frequently. And on the left side, of course, it is a little more expensive if you're putting your data in that. And then you have the one on the right. Or let me go from one to another. So you have the frequently access that is faster but a little more expensive. You have the infrequent access that is cheaper but a little slower in terms of access. And then you have the archiver. Archiver is super cheap and for stuff that you rarely need. Maybe you only need it once a year or 2 times a year. You put it in one of the archiver or what we call Glacier here, S3 Glacier storage class. So this is just helping you to choose the right class to be able to save you money for your own use case. Now, I said use case because that is something you need to understand in the cloud. When organizations are building resources in the cloud, we usually say it depends on their use case. So you need to start from, okay, what are they using S3 bucket for? What is the use case? And then work backwards from the use case of that company or that business. And if the use case is they need to, for example, an online store or Netflix, I don't want to go to Netflix and I'm just waiting to access, like, I want to be as to the movie or the thing to come as fast as possible. So different use cases will depend on the different S3 storage class that you are going to choose for the business. And one that I should highlight here is called S3 Intelligent Tiering. The second one. Now, that is for you are not sure the use case. You are not sure how you're going to access it, but you want AWS to do it for you by AI and machine learning. And that's where you have S3 Intelligent Tiering. is going to automatically help you move your object to different classes based on access patterns. That is just something I thought to mention. So if someone is thinking, what if I don't even know? I just want the things to do it for me. There's definitely an option for that. So this in terms of S3, S3 is very durable. There's durability, and durability means that you have protection against data loss, against data corruption, and S3 offers 11 nines of durability. That means the probability of you losing your file or your file just getting lost is very, in fact, yeah, very, very low. And you see there's a number there that say if you store 10 million objects on S3, then you expect to lose one object every 10,000 years. You can imagine every 10,000 years. So Amazon S3 is very durable. And then availability. Availability is the amount of time that your data is available to you. S3 is highly available, which means anytime you want your data, you can have it available to you. But I think the major thing to just understand in storage class is your storage class should be according to your use case or your purpose to be able to see, okay, which storage, and I'm saying that because some business are paying for frequent and they are paying a lot where they actually don't need to put their data in frequent access. Right, so that's one concept for S3. The next one here quickly is S3 lifecycle policies. S3 lifecycle policies. Now, this means that you can automate what happens to your file over time. So, like I was saying that you can use S3 intelligent tiering. You can also use what we call S3 lifecycle policies. Now, it enables you to be able to automatically transition your files or your objects between different storage class or expire them after a certain period. What that means is that you can automate what happens to your file over time. Like you can move them to a cheaper storage or you can delete them after a year. And this makes managing like huge amounts of data effortless. So you can say that, okay, you know what, if I've not accessed this data in like 1 year, I want you to get rid of it. Or I want you to move it to the lowest, like archival storage or something like that. So that's what we call S3 lifecycle policies. And this is how it looks in practice. So it just helps you to provide like a strategic approach to managing your data. So you can store your data in S3 standard and say that, okay, you know what, after 30 days, if I've not accessed this, move it to the next one. Then after 60 days, if I've not really accessed it again, move it to the next one. Then after 465 days, if I've not even thought about this object as well, please just delete it for me and get rid of the money that I'm paying. So, and I think this works in practice with us human beings as well. You like there are probably some clothes that you've not worn maybe in 1 year, in 2 years. And when you see them, they're already like small for you. Be like, you know what, I'd rather throw this clothes away or give it to charity or something like that. So this is like the same way S3 lifecycle policy. You just automate like, okay, you set some certain rules that, okay, this is how I want my data in terms of the life cycle. This is what I want you to do. Just move it for me automatically. And once you set that, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, how is everyone feeling? I feel like it's quiet. Before I move to the next one, how is everyone feeling? Can you put something in the chat or put I'm here or listening or it's too technical? Good. Okay. 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 Great. Okay. Nice. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Someone said trying my best to catch up. Yeah, I know. Seems like a new word, of course. No, in the next few minutes, you're going to, create an AWS account and actually create an S3 bucket, and you will see all what I'm just, talking about, right? Okay, so let's go to a very important concept as well, in terms of data, because when we talk about Amazon S3, we are talking about data, right? Object files. These are data that we are storing there. And you need to understand security when it comes to cloud. And that's why we just want to talk about data encryption. Now, one thing I want you to know is that AWS takes security very seriously. In fact, security is one of our top priority at AWS. And data encryption basically ensures that if someone got hold of your files or S3 objects, they won't be able to reach them without a secret key. That is what data encryption is all about. So data encryption, again, if someone got hold of your files or your S3 objects, they will not be able to read them. It's like you sending a PDF file to me, or I access a PDF file on your laptop, but you've password protected it. Has anyone seen that thing before? And you need a password from me to be able to open it. That's what data encryption is, basically, on this. So it ensures that if someone get hold of your file, they won't be able to access them. So that's data encryption. And there is data encryption in Amazon S3. So you can protect or encrypt your data in two ways. Number one, while in transit. While in transit means when your data is moving from Amazon S3, maybe to another service in AWS. If you have an online store, I'm selling shoes and bags, I need those images to show on my website, right? That means I need to connect Amazon S3 that is storing all the images to my server. Now, when the data is moving from Amazon S3 to the server to show people on my website, that data is actually being protected or encrypted, even while in transit, while it's going from S3 to another service, for example. And also at rest, it means that there's data encryption when your files or your object is just sitting in S3 and is resting there and is being stored there. So while it is stored, the data is being encrypted. And while, so that what I have here would not confuse you. So while we have here, while it is stored on disk in data centers, is because if you remember the first session that we had, in reality, your Amazon S3 is on a computer in an Amazon physical data center, which, if you remember, what actually, can someone remind me, what did I call a data center? What is the word, those two words for a data center in cloud? Anyone can remember those two words? I said you can interchange them. There's two words that you can call a data center in the cloud. Availability zone. Okay, good. Availability zone. Exactly. So availability zone is the same thing as data center in the cloud. So while at rest in a data center, your data is being encrypted because AWS take security very seriously. So no one is going to be able to access any of your data. Right. So so let's look again to another industry use case in terms of Amazon S3, and I think this is the last use case before we end this session. And yes, I'm getting really excited for the labs, but I think we'll have another Q&A before that. Now, this is another use case for Amazon S3, and it is NASA. And NASA is a space organization in the US, and NASA stores petabytes of data. And you need to know what scale of petabyte is. That is huge amount of data. And they store this petabytes of data from space missions that, they are going on space and all of that on Amazon S3. And you can imagine that if the world's leading scientists, and a company like NASA trust AWS for their critical data, then it's clearly a platform that is worth learning, or that you can see that so many organizations, even the military, they are putting their data on it. So Amazon S3 is helping even NASA to store and access their data securely and reliably. And with that, we've come to the end of this session and the lecture. And I'm sure that you've learned, a lot today. I know that a few hours ago, or maybe a few minutes ago, cloud computing might have felt very distant or overwhelming for some of you. But now you can say that you understand at least how it works, why it matters, and how organizations or different businesses to big organizations like Spotify, Netflix, NASA are using cloud every day. And I think the biggest thing I want to leave with for the lecture part before we jump into the lab part to actually build something in the cloud is that cloud is not hard at all. It is learnable, it is buildable, it is absolutely within your reach. And that is where we have Cloud Booster helping out and coming to guide you and hold your hands. And today was just like the first step, just to introduce you to like the concept of cloud and just for you to imagine what's possible if you keep going with different guided projects, community support, and mentorship from Cloud Booster. And you have different career paths that you can go into as well. That I'm sure they will come up now. Someone will come up to talk about. So, and that's what the cohort program that will be talked about would help you to build real skills for you to learn real opportunities and to change your story. So, and I think here is actually the fun part. We are not just talking about it. You are actually about to like do it or to actually create something. So after the Q&A now, we will jump into the hands-on lab where you actually create your AWS account. You will launch your very first S3 bucket and you will store your first object in the cloud. I'm sure some of you are really waiting for that. And that will be like your first real cloud project and it's going to feel amazing. So I want you to keep the energy high. Let's stay curious and yeah, let's build something together. Ife, over to you. Are we taking the questions now and before we have a break, right?
Yes, we're taking the Q&A now.
Okay,
Then afterwards, we get into we just have a quiz session for about 10 minutes.
okay, right. Oh, quiz. Okay, I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so let's see. Does anyone have any question? I think I have like 8 minutes thereabouts for any questions. Let me check my time. Do we need EC2 with S3? Not really. I think, like I mentioned, I think everything that has to do with the cloud depends on your use case. What are you like? If you ask me, do you need EC2 with S3? I'll ask you, what are you trying to build first? So it depends on what you're trying to build. You don't need EC2 with S3. In fact, with S3, you can build a website only with S3, which you're going to learn, right? So it depends on what you're trying to build, really your use case. So you don't necessarily need an EC2. An EC2, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, is just a server in the cloud, a virtual server in the cloud. Okay, Chinaya is asking, is there going to be a presentation about the bootcamp? We are actually in the bootcamp right now. Chinaya, if you want to refine your question, this is actually the bootcamp that we are doing. And the lab is also part of the bootcamp as well. Actually, in the Q&A, let me go to that because I forgot the other time. So someone said, what is the future career? Actually, are we taking any questions about Cloud Booster now or to the end? Because there are a lot of questions about, oh, how can we start? What is the program about? And all of that. Do we want to hint on that at the moment?
Okay, so for the questions about Cloud Booster, we're going to take it towards the end of the class. So we'll have
Okay.
we'll do the labs and everything first. Then we come back to take every question with regards to the training, Cloud Booster.
Okay, great. Someone is asking in the Q&A, what's the future career in cloud computing job opportunities? Yeah, there are a lot of, I mean, I ran through some of the numbers in terms of, um, let's go. So this is some of the numbers in terms of the cloud computing markets. So there's a lot of potential, and which means there's a lot of job opportunity as well if you want to grow in the field. So in terms of career paths, there's DevOps, there's solutions architect. I'm a solutions architect for AWS myself. There are lots of career paths that you can do. And in terms of opportunity, definitely you can see the numbers here. It keeps growing, the cloud market. And like I mentioned, even the advent of AI and generative AI has even opened more opportunity because companies need to build their AI infrastructure on top of the cloud. So there's so many job opportunities and career paths, and you don't have to have programming or coding skills to thrive in this pathway. I think Eniola is asking that. And one of the class with Cloud Booster training as well is going to take you through the basics of coding or programming that you need. Again, the basics that you need for your cloud. So I don't even program or code in my day-to-day job, right? So you don't need to have like programming or coding skills. So don't let that like, keep you away. What is the difference between the internet and the cloud? So for cloud computing, you are having access to different resources like database, like storage to maybe build a website to do something with it. But the internet is like how we interact with different things online, right? And even cloud computing also needs the internet to work. So you need to like go via the internet to be able to access different resources in the cloud. Has there been cases in which information in S3 buckets leaked to AWS staff? None have not heard of such case. The information is encrypted like we went through. There's data encryption. So even AWS staff or no one in AWS have access to your files in S3. As a cloud support engineer, how would you manage an organization S3 buckets? There are different ways. It depends on what you mean by manage. I think OJ is asking. An S3 bucket is not, there's really not a lot to manage. You just need to, maybe put the bucket, put the encryption, the policy of who will be accessing it, and it should be there. It just works, right? So it depends on what you mean by manage. Okay, Caroline, I think you can watch the recording later on. You said your network logged you out. Sorry to hear about that. An idea of what it costs to use cloud services. So for AWS, every AWS service has a pricing page online. For example, if you just Google right now, Amazon S3 pricing, it's going to take you to the pricing page. But what you should also know that each of these or majority of these services, they have free tier. They have a free tier. And I think it's within 12 months. They have a free tier within 12 months. So, for example, S3 can say would allow you to create 1 million buckets in the first 12 months that you create your AWS account, and we won't charge you for it. So, if you're a beginner or a learner, I would say take advantage of the free tier that is available in the different cloud services. So, you don't have to worry about paying. Take advantage of its free tier. And I'm sure like Cloud Booster family will also take you through like how to access that and what you need. But definitely there are costs involved and you should be mindful of the cost. And there's also something that is called Ogo, if you're interested, person that is asking this question, AWS budgets, AWS budgets. So you should look that up and also think of ways that you can actually set a budget so that you are not using things that are not within the confines of the free tier, and then you are being charged, for what you are not using. So again, there are free tiers, but also check AWS budgets if maybe you already have knowledge of the cloud and you just want to know, okay, what are the costs? But the pricing for every service is publicly available online. Okay. Is there any question or should we go right into the quiz? Over to you, Ife. I don't know. Almost all companies that you think about, especially that use anything tech, and by anything tech, I mean that has a website, that has an app, anything. And most banks at the moment are actually trying to migrate from their traditional IT data centers into the cloud. So absolutely. Think of, yeah, majority of the companies, apps, different things that you use, they are using the cloud or they're already thinking about moving off their traditional data centers into the cloud. And some companies are also doing hybrid. So they have some things in the cloud and then they still have some things in their traditional IT estates. All right. Thank you. Sorry, Faye.
All right. Thank you so much, Inshallah. Okay, so to just help to manage expectations and for those who have been asking questions about the program, Cloud Booster, how to get started, there's going to be a session after the lab session. So please, that's why we're encouraging you to stay till the end so that you can get to hear all the answers that you need to get started, basically. So please and please, every question with regards to the training duration, the amount to get started with, and all of those things will be answered towards the end of the session. So please and please stay till the end of the class so you don't miss out. So right about now, we are going to be having a quiz session. If you remember at the start of this, we told you to pay attention. So this is the time. So we are going to be having a quiz session now, and the winner gets to go home with something. Yes, the winner gets to go home with something. And so, yeah, I'll be bringing on board Salima to take over this session. Over to you, Salima.
Hello, hi everyone. Hi. Good